Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Today, we're heading into the grim darkness of the 41st millennium to explore, well, to explore the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Ooh, yeah, the Adeptus Mechanicus.
They are one of the most, I think, intriguing factions in the Warhammer 40k universe, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. They're a fascinating blend of religion, technology, and, well, let's be honest, just a little bit of creepiness.
Yeah.
Just a tad.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, you're probably, gearing up for a tabletop campaign, maybe writing some amazing grimdark fiction, or who knows?
Well, maybe you're just curious.
Yeah, just curious about these tech-obsessed zealots.
There's a lot to be curious about.
There is, and we'll be using excerpts from the Warhammer 40k wiki to, give you a good, solid understanding of their beliefs and their history.
Oh.
And the key players in their hierarchy.
Which is, shall we say, complex.
It is complex.
Like your machines. What I find really interesting about the Adeptus Mechanicus is they're not just a military force, right? They're this fusion of religion, science, and political power. They're really deeply intertwined with the fate of the Imperium as a whole.
Absolutely. So let's start with the core of their belief system, which is, of course, the worship of the Omnissiah.
The machine god. Often interpreted as the emperor of mankind himself.
And it's not just about, tinkering with tech. They straight up venerate it.
They do. They see knowledge as, like, the highest form of divine expression.
Really?
Which makes ancient technology like sacred relics,
Yeah.
To them, flesh is weak. They embrace cybernetic augmentation, and to become more machine than human.
It's a fascinating take on faith, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, a little creepy.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right.
So speaking of their tech and their history, I mean, it's a wild ride.
Oh, it is.
They started on Mars, right?
They did, yep. Independent, technologically advanced.
And somehow they ended up joining the Emperor's Imperium. How did that happen?
Well, we have to go back, way back, to understand the context.
Right.
Ancient Mars was ruled by, well, the cult Mechanicus.
Right.
The precursor to the Adeptus Mechanicus as we know it. Then came the Age of Strife.
Oh.
A brutal period of chaos and technological regression.
Yeah, that does not sound good.
No, not good at all. Imagine a galaxy ravaged by warp storms, communications cut off, humanity's on the brink of self-destruction.
Yikes.
That era, that really shaped their belief in preserving knowledge above all else.
So their whole culture is built on this fear of another technological collapse.
Essentially, yes. I mean, it makes their obsession with knowledge make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. So then how do they end up joining the Imperium?
Well, that's where the Treaty of Mars comes in.
Okay.
The Emperor, he recognized their technical expertise, right? He knew it was essential for his grand vision of galactic unification.
Right.
So he offers them a deal.
Oh, okay. What kind of a deal?
Autonomy, freedom to practice their unique religion in exchange for, well, building his fleets and supplying the Imperium with their technology.
It's a marriage of convenience.
Yes, but a crucial one.
Absolutely. But it's the Imperium, right?
Exactly.
There's got to be some drama.
Oh, there's always drama. And for the Mechanicus, that drama came in the form of the Horus Heresy.
Oh, yeah. The Horus Heresy.
That devastating civil war that split the Imperium. And the Mechanicus itself right down the middle.
Oh, wow.
Some sided with Horus, some remained loyal to the Emperor.
So what drove that division within the Mechanicus?
It really boils down to the pursuit of knowledge, but with some very important caveats.
Okay.
Remember, the Emperor forbade the development of artificial intelligence.
Oh, right.
He saw what thinking machines could do back during the ancient cybernetic revolt where, humanity almost got wiped out by its own creations.
Yeah.
So this restriction, it didn't sit well with some tech priests.
I can imagine.
Who viewed it as an obstacle to understanding the Omnissiah.
So it was a conflict between faith in the Emperor as the Omnissiah and this unquenchable thirst for knowledge.
Exactly. The allure of forbidden knowledge, especially AI, play a huge role in the Mechanicus's internal conflict.
That's super interesting.
It is.
So are there any other, lesser-known events that shaped who they are today?
Oh, there are tons. I mean, we could talk for hours.
I know. But we got to, pick and choose. What about those conduit wars you mentioned?
Oh, right. The conduit wars. These were and arguably still are a conflict between two sects of electro priests.
Oh, wow. Okay, so like what? internal strife.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine these individuals, they're channeling bioelectricity as a
Wait,
weapon.
hold on. Bioelectricity as a weapon?
Oh, yeah.
That's intense.
It is. They're battling over the proper way to venerate the motive force.
Okay, so what is the motive force?
The very energy that powers the machine god.
So literal clash of ideologies.
It really is a technological holy war, you could say.
Wow. And you said the conduit wars weren't the only internal struggle, right? There's more.
Oh, there's always more. We also have the Zenerite schism. Some Forge worlds delved into alien technology, which, the Inquisition wasn't too happy about.
Yeah, not. What else?
Then there's the Moirae schism. Devastating civil war, raged for millennia within the Mechanicus.
Oh, wow.
And we can't forget the Shadow War.
What's the Shadow War?
Hidden conflict of, imagine this, counter-programming between the Mechanicus and the Inquisition.
Wait, so like hacking?
Essentially, imagine a war fought not with weapons, but with information itself.
Whoa, a counter-programming war.
Yeah.
Against the Inquisition.
Who else? That highlights the lengths, the lengths they will go to safeguard their secrets.
They were hacking the most powerful organization in the Imperium.
That's right, because knowledge to them is sacred. Losing it is like heresy.
Makes sense.
This need for secrecy also fuels suspicion from the Inquisition, who are well known for their vigilance.
I mean, it's like having two incredibly powerful roommates that are just constantly suspicious of each other.
Right.
I can see why there's tension.
Yeah.
But they need each other, right?
They do. It's a relationship built on, necessity and distrust. The Inquisition relies on the Mechanicuses, their expertise and tech. The Mechanicus needs the Inquisition's protection.
Okay.
It's a delicate dance of mutual dependency.
That can easily go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. When their goals collide, things can get messy.
So it's like this big dysfunctional family where everyone needs each other, but they can't seem to get along.
It's the Imperium. What do you expect?
True.
Yeah.
So speaking of families, the Mechanicus itself has a really complex internal structure, right? I mean, all those tech priests, different orders, this whole hierarchy. Where do we even begin to untangle that? Okay, so we've talked about their origin story, the Adeptus Mechanicus beliefs, some of the, dramatic events that shape their history.
There's a lot of drama.
There is.
A lot of drama.
The 41st millennium. It is the 41st millennium.
Yes.
But I'm curious, how does their society actually function? Like, what's it like on the inside?
You can almost think of it as like a vast machine itself.
Okay.
With each order working like, a specialized cog.
Right.
So you've got the Magi, the senior tech priests. They've mastered, specific disciplines.
Oh,
There's the Magos explorator, always out there seeking lost technology.
oh, wow.
Then you've got the Magos errant. They venture out into the galaxy on these dangerous expeditions, sometimes with rogue traders.
The Magos errant, they sound like they've got the coolest job.
Right. Exploring the galaxy, uncovering ancient secrets.
Yeah.
I bet they have some wild stories.
I bet they do. But the Mechanicus isn't just about exploring, right?
No, not just exploring. It's about maintaining that vast technological infrastructure of the Imperium.
Makes sense.
Which brings us to the Genitors.
The Genitors, okay.
They're bioengineers.
I see.
Obsessed with both human and, get this, alien genetics.
Alien genetics. Okay, that's interesting.
Right. Their work is vital for things like planetary colonization,
Right.
figuring out how to adapt life to these harsh, unforgiving environments.
They're like the ultimate problem solvers then.
Exactly. Pushing the boundaries of what's possible with flesh and technology.
So the Mechanicus must generate a ton of information, right?
Right.
Like to manage all that data.
Oh, an insane amount.
Yeah.
To make sense of it all, you've got the Logi,
Okay.
the analysts, the statisticians.
Oh, okay.
They're almost prophetic in their ability to predict, trends
Really?
and anticipate the Mechanicus's needs.
So they're like the supercomputers of the Mechanicus.
Exactly. Making sense of all the data, ensuring everything runs smoothly.
Of course, you got to have someone to actually build and maintain all that technology.
Oh, absolutely. That's where the artisans come in.
Okay.
The builders, the designers.
Yeah.
They command armies of servitors, churning out everything from weapons to, spacecraft.
I can't even imagine what their workshops must look like.
Oh, it's a sight to behold.
I bet. And let's not forget those electro priests, right?
Oh, right. The masters of bioelectricity.
Yeah.
Their abilities make them quite formidable, especially in battle.
Yeah. It's amazing how even within a single faction, there are so many specialized roles and interpretations of their faith.
It is.
It really speaks to the complexity of the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they all share that fundamental belief in the machine god, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just worshiping giant robots, right? It's the belief that every piece of tech, no matter how simple, has a spirit.
Wait, so they believe every machine has, like, a soul,
They call it the machine spirit.
the machine spirit. So it's more than just, like, worshiping the toaster.
A little bit more, yeah. It's like before operating or repairing any machine, they've got these elaborate rituals.
What kind of rituals?
Oh, chanting binary prayers, applying sacred oils, burning incense.
Whoa.
It's this blend of the spiritual and the technical.
Wow. So it's not enough to just understand, like, the technical aspects of a machine. You have to understand its spirit.
That's right. You have to appease the machine's spirit, otherwise it could malfunction.
Really?
Or even, turn against you.
Oh, that's a little scary.
It can be. It adds a whole new layer of complexity to their relationship with technology, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. So, and it's this belief in the machine spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their reverence for the Omnissiah that drives their endless quest for knowledge, right?
Exactly. Remember those STC databases?
Yeah.
The blueprints from humanity's, golden age of technology?
Yeah.
Finding them is like finding the holy grail for these guys.
Like a galaxy-wide treasure hunt, with knowledge as the ultimate prize.
Yeah.
But, sometimes that pursuit of knowledge can lead them down, like, dangerous paths.
It can. We talked about the Zenerite schism where some Forge worlds, dabbled in alien tech.
Yeah.
That's a constant temptation for the Adeptus Mechanicus.
I see, yeah.
Their desire to study and understand the universe, can lead them to cross lines that others would consider unthinkable.
So it's like a constant internal struggle, right?
Yeah.
Between following the dogma and pursuing knowledge, no matter the cost.
A constant balancing act. And that internal struggle, it's
Yeah.
often mirrored in their external relationships, too, particularly with the Inquisition.
Right. I mean, those two, they both wield significant power, but they have very different priorities.
That's an understatement. The Inquisition sees any deviation from, imperial dogma as heresy, the Mechanicus.
Yep.
With their blend of religion and tech, they often operate in, let's say, a gray area.
Right, yeah. Like we said, it's like they're these two essential parts of the Imperium,
Mm-hmm.
but they're constantly at odds with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that tension actually play out in practice?
Well, remember the Shadow War?
Yeah.
That conflict really highlights that deep distress between them.
Yeah.
The Inquisition, they want control.
Hmm.
The Mechanicus, they want autonomy. It's like a constant game of cat and mouse,
Wow.
with information itself as the weapon.
That's a really interesting dynamic. They're not just fighting orcs and chaos. They're engaged in these subtle power struggles within the
Yeah.
Imperium itself.
All the time.
But let's step back for a moment. We've talked a lot about their beliefs, their conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
But what about their, like, practical role in the Imperium? Like, what do they actually do on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, they're the engineers, right?
Mhm.
The technicians, the logistics experts.
Right.
They keep the whole Imperium running.
So without the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Imperium's vast infrastructure would just, like, crumble.
Pretty much. They oversee the generatoriums, the massive power plants
Okay.
fueling the Imperium's cities and industries.
I see.
They manage the genitoriums responsible for planetary colonization, bioengineering,
Wow.
and they maintain the manufactorums, those sprawling industrial complexes that produce, well, everything.
Really, everything.
Everything from weapons to spacecraft.
They're like the backbone of the Imperium then.
They are the unsung heroes, keeping everything running. And their responsibilities, they extend even to the Adeptus Astartes,
The Space Marines.
the Space Marines. Each chapter, they pay a tithe of gene seed to the Mechanicus.
Really?
The Mechanicus monitor its health.
Okay.
They oversee the founding of new chapters when needed.
Wow. So they're not just building machines. They're shaping the future of the Imperium's, most elite warriors.
It's a delicate balance, wouldn't you say,
Wow.
of power and knowledge. I mean, they hold the keys to technologies that could save or destroy the Imperium.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all comes back to their core beliefs, right?
Mhm.
Their reverence for the machine god, their thirst for knowledge, their willingness to sacrifice flesh for the sake of the machine.
Hmm.
They're a fascinating faction. wouldn't you say?
Oh, they're incredibly complex. They're a microcosm of the Imperium itself.
How so?
Well, they're powerful but flawed, ultimately driven by the same desires, for survival and understanding. And their story, it doesn't end there.
What do you mean?
They face constant threats, both within the Imperium
Right.
and from the enemies beyond.
Now you've got me hooked. What kind of enemies are we talking about?
Oh, their enemies are, well, they're as diverse and dangerous as the galaxy itself.
I can imagine.
You've got the orcs, for starters.
Oh, the orcs.
Crude but brutally effective technology, always eager to, loot and plunder.
Of course.
The Mechanicus' precious machines.
Right.
Then there are the Eldar.
The Eldar, ooh.
Advanced and, elegant weaponry. They often clash with the Mechanicus over, ancient artifacts.
Oh, yeah.
Lost knowledge, things like that.
The Eldar are always, I think, such a fascinating adversary.
Oh, they are.
It's like they represent a path not taken, like a more refined approach to technology,
Yeah. And perhaps even more dangerous in some ways.
Yeah. But in terms of just sheer, existential threat, few can compare to the Tyranids.
Oh, the Tyranids.
That extragalactic swarm.
Devouring everything in their path.
Yeah. Consuming what, biomass and technology alike?
Planets, starships, you name it. They're a force of nature. Even the Adeptus Mechanicus struggles to really comprehend them.
They're definitely terrifying. It's a relentless tide of hunger and destruction.
It's a horrifying sight. And then, you can't forget about the Necrons.
Oh, the Necrons.
You're right, of course.
The ancient robotic race.
Yeah.
Awakened from their long slumber.
Yeah.
Seeking to reclaim the galaxy.
Right. That they once ruled.
And their tech.
Yeah.
Far older, potentially even more powerful than anything the Mechanicus has.
I'm sensing a bit of a theme here, right?
What do you mean?
I mean, a lot of their enemies, they represent different aspects of technology itself.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like the orcs, brutal. The Eldar, elegant. The Tyranids, all-consuming. The Necrons, ancient. Yeah, you're right. Their enemies really do reflect those different facets of technology, The potential for both creation and destruction. It's something the Mechanicus grapples with constantly.
That makes their role even more crucial then, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
They're not just fighting for territory or resources.
No.
They're fighting to preserve human knowledge.
That's right. The legacy of the machine god.
And in the wake of the Great Rift, things have gotten, a lot worse for them, right?
The Great Rift tore the Imperium in half, unleashed warp storms, demonic incursions.
Yeah.
It's a whole new level of threat. And yeah, it's definitely put a strain on the Mechanicus.
It sounds like the galaxy's testing them,
Oh, it is.
pushing them to their absolute limit.
The forges of Mars are burning hotter than ever.
Really?
Churning out weapons and war machines
Wow.
to meet these threats. Titan legions are marching to war.
Yeah. Against who?
Oh, orcs, Eldar, even, those demonic forces of chaos. And those Magos explorators, still out there, venturing into the unknown, searching for lost technologies.
That could, turn the tide of the war?
You got it.
They're fighting a war on multiple fronts then.
Oh, absolutely. Literally and philosophically. Battling enemies on the battlefield.
Right.
Wrestling with those internal conflicts,
Yeah.
Ethical dilemmas, like their relationship with AI, for example.
Right.
We talked about the cybernetic revolt, that deep fear of AI instilled in their culture, right?
Yeah.
Yet they revere the machine. They see it as, a manifestation of the divine.
Yeah.
It's a paradox, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. They're drawn to the power of AI, but terrified of its potential consequences.
Exactly. It's like a forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
They know it might be poisonous, but they can't resist.
So are they considering actually embracing AI?
It's a question that really divides the Mechanicus. Some believe clinging to dogma will lead to their downfall. They need to adapt, evolve.
To survive.
Exactly. Others see AI as this dangerous path, a betrayal of everything they stand for.
A betrayal of the machine god.
Exactly. It's a decision with huge implications,
Yeah.
Not just for the Adeptus Mechanicus, but for the entire Imperium.
It really is. If they unleash AI, will it save them or destroy them?
That's the ultimate question. And it's one each listener, I think, has to ponder. The Adeptus Mechanicus is at a crossroads. Their choices driven by, their relationship with technology and their faith in the machine god, they're going to have huge consequences.
That's a really powerful thought. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what surprised you the most about the Adeptus Mechanicus?
Honestly,
Yeah.
it's their contradictions.
Their contradictions, okay.
They're incredibly advanced, right?
Yeah.
But they're so reliant on these ancient rituals,
Right.
obsessed with knowledge, but fearful of certain kinds of knowledge. I mean, they're essential to the Imperium, but also a potential threat.
Right, right. It's that complexity that makes them so fascinating.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not just cogs in a machine.
Yeah.
They're individuals, you know, wrestling with these big questions.
Yeah,
You know,
huge questions.
about faith, technology,
The future.
the future of humanity. This deep dive has been, well, a really amazing journey
It has.
into one of the most, intriguing corners of the Warhammer 40k universe.
It's a universe where the line between man and machine is constantly blurred.
Yeah,
Faith and technology are just intertwined.
it really is. And who knows what the future holds for the Adeptus Mechanicus, right?
Who knows?
Will they embrace these forbidden technologies? Will they cling to their traditions?
Will they save the Imperium? Or will they be its undoing?
I guess we'll have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure, their story is far from over.
Absolutely not.
And that's a perfect note to end on. To all our listeners, keep exploring that grim darkness of the 41st millennium. Until our next deep dive, keep those cognitive engines humming.